like you should just be focusing on performance and athletes.
To cut weight, what have you seen that they're not doing right? What do you suggest that they should do right?
That diet.
Do you suggest a carb-free
No,
program?
I don't necessarily feel. What becomes tricky is people
Rocky montage
videos,
like we understand now over drinking water.
Exactly.
Man,
That's in Denton area, but he does train out in Las Vegas at Syndicate. It's the name. That's why people don't like it, because it sounds
like
bad.
something that some mad scientist cooked up one day
in a trailer park.
He got like a lot of money, so he did all this red light therapy and all this stuff. And he takes supplements, and he takes a whole bunch of them. Though. Essentially, Rev Subs was started up by some guys that I went to college with at UConn. And they asked me if I wanted to be like a model. But what happens is the BCAAs actually compete at the blood-brain barrier, so that not as much tryptophan gets across and turns to serotonin.
If you had to travel back in time, what decade and why?
I'll go back to, man.
How many of you boxing coaches, boxers out there, really know what you're doing when it comes to managing your diet, managing nutrition? Like on some of you, all right, some of you not so much. I see y'all, starving, looking really deprived out there sometimes, stomach touching your back. I'm not sure how you're gonna have strength to fight, but I'm really, really excited about this. So thank you, Mr. James Lucas, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is your book, Hip Hop Nutrition, Volume 1. Give me a summary of this, what inspired it, and then of course, the name Hip Hop Nutrition,
Yeah, definitely. So essentially, Hip Hop Nutrition is basically a series of recipes. So there's 21 recipes in the book, which essentially equates to 7 days of meal plans. So you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week for 21 different meals. Just like a soundtrack, if you remember back in the day, if you got a mixtape, it was 21 tracks on the mixtape, right?
Yeah.
And each recipe has an undertone of a hip hop song, you know what I'm saying? I got like a Busta Rhymes theme, you know what I mean, for a protein shake, peanut butter Busta shake.
Peanut butter Busta,
you know what I mean? Right. So I try to, utilize what inspired me in my life, because I grew up on hip hop. Everything I've done is based on hip hop, you know what I mean? So that's pretty much what the book's about, to give people structure so they know what to pick, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it speaks to those who like hip hop, you know what I mean?
Real quick, what is your age, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I'm 40.
Okay, so we're all from the same era of hip hop. I'm 38, we're all from the same era of hip hop, so I have a feeling there's a lot in here that I'm going to enjoy. What did you call the Busta Rhymes was called?
It's peanut butter Busta protein shake.
Man, I don't have to make that Busta. I'm in the kitchen like. It's interesting though. If you look at my pictures on the wall, that'll tell you about the era of hip hop, right? Like when I put this gym together, like I wanted to kind of, we love boxing, so there's a lot of boxing stuff, but I also wanted to kind of share more of the culture that we come from and whatnot. And so I picked all of the late greats that I enjoyed. Now, of course, I work with a lot of young fighters, so they came in here and naturally
they're
like,
the baby.
Can I put my I said, absolutely not. No, some of them don't even know who
Facts.
those guys
Googling, putting them on.
Facts. I know exactly what you mean. We're in that era now, and even with my nieces, I'll talk to them about certain artists, and they're like, Michael Jackson, who's that? I got Nas.
Nas, what's the name of the meal in there?
So that one is, it's like Nas, your regular fried chicken, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I try to put a spin on it to make it more healthy,
so
that it's not like the fried chicken that you're used to, you know?
Well, it was your love of hip hop, that is kind of like the theme of this. How did you get into just the area of nutrition?
Yeah, so essentially, growing up, I played football, ran track, I even did a little karate, baseball. I was always involved in sports.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in New Haven, Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. So, once I got to high school, I was playing football, running track, working out like crazy. You know what I'm saying? Ripped and everything.
Yeah.
And I was always wanting to maximize my potential. You know what I mean? How can I get an advantage over my competitor? And I was like, diet's got to have some benefit.
Man.
And it started to spark curiosity. And I would look at like the cereal box. I remember I used to eat Raisin Bran cereal in the morning, and I would just look at the nutrition facts like, yo, this got a lot of stuff in it. It's got to be helping me.
Yeah.
And that kind of started the whole process. You know what I mean?
When you was what, high school or?
In high school, yeah.
Okay.
You just thinking in terms of how can I have the most advantage from a competitive standpoint?
Absolutely.
It led you to nutrition.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's the most slept on part of any athlete's, getting ready for anything, whether it be a boxer for his training camp, an athlete before his game or anything like that. The nutrition is the most important thing.
Facts.
The meal before your game, the meal before your fight, everything like that. And
For sure.
that's the most slept on.
A lot of slept on things because the thing is, like, I think about all these guys that come to my gym or guys that, met so obsessed, of course. I mean, it's just the nature of being an athlete is wanting to have the greatest competitive advantage. You just obsess about that. And so they work out harder, or do new routines, or do this, do that. And then some of the things that are slept on don't even really come to mind. Like, they don't consider how much a good nutrition plan will give you a competitive advantage. They don't realize how mental skills training, psychological aspect will give you a good competitive advantage.
Facts.
You know,
Also sleep too.
Yes, sleep.
Man, that's a good one.
And for me, faith, spirituality,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely,
Like,
facts.
there's so many that come together, and yes, a lot of things that are slept on. So I'm really excited in hearing about your findings in nutrition. So you got interested in it. What was the next step for you? Was it going to school? Where did you go to school?
Yeah, for sure. So, being an athlete, naturally was believing that I would play football or run track. And I went to UConn. I actually had a letter to run track at the time, and I didn't even know that nutrition was a field to study. So I started in kinesiology. And when I was taking some classes, I had to take nutrition. And when I took the nutrition course, it was like amazing to me. It was my calling. When you want to talk about faith, because I zoned in and I was like, yo, this is amazing. Like, I was inviting my homies to the class. I'm like, yo, this info is crazy. Like, y'all never heard of this in my life, yo. My homies trying to talk to the girls. I'm like, nah, dog, you missing the real info right here. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just kept taking classes and talking to people, and God kept putting people in my life, bro. Like, random stuff. I was at a bus stop once, and some random lady asked me, hey, what do you like to do? And I, started describing it. She said, hey, talk to this person. Next thing I know, I got a summer job working in nutrition.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean?
Man.
And eventually, when I was at the university, I met the dean of the College of Agriculture, and he said, hey, we got nutrition. You should come into this. And I was like, yo, that's what I want to do.
It was the undergrad in nutrition?
Yeah, undergrad in nutrition sciences. And went through that whole thing, graduated with a focus in nutrition for sport and exercise.
Okay.
Because my vision and goal then was like, yo, I'm about to be a dietitian for the NFL or the NBA.
Yeah.
If I'm not going to play the sport, I'm going to help support the sport.
Right, get as close as you possibly can.
Help
Absolutely.
athletes, you know what I mean?
So were you weren't interested in playing sports no more at that point?
You know what? I actually lost my passion a bit for running track. Like I was saying, I had a letter. And, running at UConn or doing any sport.
What was your
D1,
event on the track?
Anything 400 down.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you was a sprinter.
I was a sprinter, yeah. So it was like, you had to really be a very good athlete at UConn. And I kind of self-defeated myself, And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to enjoy my college experience. It's not always going to work out for everybody to be, in sports full time. So I just went with nutrition, said, I'm going to focus on this. That's how I'm going to help athletes and still be involved in sports. So essentially, after graduating from UConn, I actually worked with women, infant, and children, believe it or not. So for a whole year,
doing
weight nutritionists. So essentially, like moms that are looking to help develop their babies, to help themselves while they're pregnant as well. So I have a full understanding of like, okay, what does the mom need to do to help the child so that the baby comes out healthy? You know what I mean? So I did that for a full year, and then from there, I knew I wanted to go back to school, and I started working at Yale Hospital and did my dietetic internship there. Once I finished that, I started in oncology. So I worked with cancer patients for 5 years, and during that time, I did my master's as well in exercise physiology.
Nice. So that was a nutrition focus. That was
No, it was straight. How do I build muscles? That's kind of like how do I enhance performance, right? Because again, sports dietetics.
and you had the foundation to understand the role that nutrition plays into that.
Exactly. because my goal was still to work with professional athletes. You know what I mean? Like I was totally, focused on that, and went for the exercise physiology to mirror the two.
Yeah. So you think that those played together really well when it was all said and done? You did the work. It was all worth it.
Absolutely, 1,000.
Did you do a thesis or anything like that?
I actually did.
Tell me about that thesis.
So
I love hearing about that.
I wrote a 150-page paper thesis on the effects of HMB, which is beta hydroxy beta methylbutyrate, on esophageal and lung cancer patients.
So tell our audience in simple terms what that means.
No doubt. So basically,
Audience in.
So basically, when you're working with cancer patients, hopefully you may not have had any family members that have experienced that, but you lose like a lot of muscle. People lose their appetite and stuff, and when you lose that muscle, that can affect their outcomes and so forth. So as a dietitian, I was looking at the strategies to help maintain muscle tissue. So as a part of my thesis, believe it or not, it seems like it doesn't make sense, right? Because exercise physiology sounds like you should just be focusing on performance in athletes.
But there's a lot of rehabilitative exercise therapy.
Absolutely.
That relies on the nutritional value, right? Yeah.
So essentially, I was looking at how could I maximize the performance of the patients using nutrition intervention. So I used this supplement, HMB, which is a nutrient that you can find within proteins, and it helps maintain the muscle so that it doesn't break down as quickly.
And deteriorate.
Right. And essentially, I looked at hand grip strength. So that would give me an indicator that we're preserving the muscle tissue, because as you lose muscle, first you'll see a reduction in strength. Then the muscle loss comes. So I looked at, that whole phenomenon for the patients there, and it was a great experience.
Which one do you enjoy more? The athletes, just because that's more your calling, or?
Man, I love both, man, to tell you the truth, because the synergies essentially. Obviously, in the hospital, it's more challenging because you're working with a system.
Right.
You need a lot of
bureaucratic.
You need team members involved to get everybody bought into it.
I see.
And in the hospital, it can be tricky and challenging because dietitians, they know the value of nutrition, but you do have to convince, say, the physicians or, say, leadership about the benefits and why they should utilize nutrition. But when it comes to athletes, it's more one-on-one, so...
it's easier to kind of get your point
across. You get to see the benefits of your intervention more rapidly.
Because they want to buy in, right? They're calling on you, they're working with you, they already recognize the value of proper nutrition.
Athletes
so they're
go to
willing.
you. The hospital, you got to go to them. I see.
Or even if it's not even an athlete, it could be an active person. Somebody that's looking to get in shape,
So which one is more rewarding, seeing a patient get better in the hospital or see an athlete go to his maximum potential?
Bro, both of them, bro.
I see.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking to help people the most I can, you know what I mean? Whether it's a patient or an athlete, But the patients is harder because I'm not on the patient side of it.
I see.
I'm working through the people to help the person.
I see. You're almost like a third party. I see.
So that's why I wanted to get into the clinical liaison role, because working in the hospital is good because I can do I could help the patient here, one. But now I'm working with thousands of patients because I'm working with the dietitians and the providers, and they're helping a whole bunch of others. So, there's that long-term gratification versus with the athletes, obviously, if they're able to reach their goal, they're sticking to the plan. You can see they're, losing weight or gaining muscle. It has gratification for it as well. I love both of them.
I see.
What would you say about guys that are in sports that require them to cut weight? What have you seen that they're not doing right? What do you suggest that they should do right? That's the big question around here, what we do.
Yeah, definitely. And, with that weight loss, essentially, there's a lot of philosophies out there, based on what you're describing. And one thing that I think is important is you want to be able to try what you're aiming for before you're getting ready for that fight. So say if you have 7 weeks or so before that fight's going to start, if we want to try to modify the diet and have them follow that carb-free program before they're going into that fight, because an athlete, if they're trying that diet...
Do you suggest a carb-free program?
No, I don't necessarily. Because, with carb-free diet, that means your body's primarily using fat and protein as the energy source. And for a boxer, because it's high intensity, you want to be able to call on your glycogen stores for your energy output. And the low carbohydrate diet kind of started to become popular back in, say, 2012 or so. And actually, one of my professors was very keen to that recommendation. Now, I believe personally it's better for endurance athletes to go with low carbohydrate.
Why is that?
Because they actually can use fat for a longer period of time, and it helps spare muscle protein when they're running at a lower intensity. They're not using as much glycogen because they're not doing a sprint per se for the whole marathon. They're going low intensity. So the body is looking to utilize fat as an energy source. So people were looking at that and seeing that marathon runners were running faster. And they're like, this has to be great. But when you're talking about a boxer in that weight cut, doing low carb is an easy approach because there's so many carbs that are very abundant in our diet. You're going to cut out rice, you know what I'm saying? You're going to cut out potatoes and sweet potatoes, etc. So naturally you'll lose weight, but that could come with a reduction in energy output and strength, that you referred to earlier. So really for me, I'm about keeping the balance and making sure that all of the nutrients are prevalent, and now we're utilizing science.
What about optimizing recovery too? Don't sacrificing carbohydrates impact your recovery, that torn, broken down, muscle tissue that, you just demolished in 2-day block training, which is what they normally do? Like, don't sacrificing those carbohydrates play into their recovery as well, or lack thereof?
Facts. Dr. John Ivey out of the University of Texas, he was very keen to the benefit of including carbohydrate with protein. Because when you're including the carbohydrates in your recovery, that actually helps to enhance the absorption of proteins, which can help to support your muscle recovery. And also, you want to replenish that glycogen from that bout, you know what I'm saying? That fight, essentially, from training. So I'm more of an advocate of including all the macronutrients because as you're talking about what our body needs, we're designed to digest and utilize carbs, fats, and proteins. And we want to have all of those nutrients available at our disposal to get the most out of our workouts, to get the most out of our matches. You know what I mean?
What do you think the impact is then if that continues, if that just continues to be something they do? What are the long-term effects that be working against them?
Yeah, well, I think essentially some of the effects of just following that higher fat diet is you're going to lose energy, you're going to lose strength, you're going to lose more potential muscle because the carbohydrates can help spare your skeletal muscle protein. Depending on what their diet's looking like, if they're not getting enough protein for one, they're going to break down more protein from the skeletal muscle. And we want to have that glycogen present. There could be a higher risk for potential injury, as well, because there's not as much focus, not as much speed, possibly, you know what I'm saying? So those are some of the things to be cognizant of. But again, it's really all about following the diet and testing it out before you go and throw it in there.
Because of adaptations.
Exactly. Because everyone's gonna react different to a low, fat diet.
So I was about to ask, do you think that there's a strict diet for boxers across the board, or do you think every diet works differently depending on the athlete and their body?
For sure, no doubt. And that's the thing for me as a dietitian, and I think in our field, what becomes tricky is people, they don't want to really talk to a dietitian because they think, oh, this guy, he's just going to make me eat salads and
fruits and
stuff like that. Tofu, you know what I mean? But a good dietitian, they're going to look at what you eat. They're going to do a good interview and say, what do you eat, man? What do you like to eat? You know what I'm saying? Breakfast, lunch, dinner. And we're going to take what you enjoy and we're going to modify it so that it's fitting for your goal. You know what I'm saying?
Doesn't it also take into account, too, what the demand of your activity is?
Exactly.
So, for example, a fighter's in my gym, right? We're getting ready for a fight. We're in an 8-week, 6-week camp or whatever it is. So they got 2-block training, right? In the morning is their strength and conditioning, 3 days a week. It's very intense, a lot of plyometrics, a lot of sprinting, running, some strength resistance. and by the way, strength and conditioning programs have evolved for fighters over the year too. It's not like what you used to see in the Rocky montage videos. Like we understand now, you know, how to optimize the requirements of our sport, which are, you know, explosive moments, maybe bringing it back down to a different rate, different speed, different pace, still maintaining strength and all of those things. But anyways, so, you know, they have their strength and conditioning, and 5 days a week in the afternoon, they're back in the gym later on, just focusing on technique, focusing on strategy, a lot of movement, a lot of punches, so on and so forth, with about 2 days of recovery in between, which really means no strength and conditioning because they're still in the gym, right? So just taking into account that type of demand. Food also plays in a part of how they could optimize their recovery from all of that heavy work, right?
No doubt, 1,000%. And I think it's important, you know, when you're working with an athlete, you can get granular.
Yeah.
You know, some athletes, depending on the level when we're talking about professional, we can put the resources in place so that we're giving the best nutrition interventions using science, technology, ultrasound, where we could actually look in the muscle tissue and know how much glycogen do you have.
What?
You know what I'm saying? And how much muscle have you potentially lost during this time frame. But we want to make sure that based on their height, their weight, their age, and their activity output, that we're giving them the right diet that's fitting for either weight gain, weight maintenance, or weight loss.
Okay.
That's interesting too, because I got some guys, right? There's a guy I know, I'm not gonna say no names. He's real tall, real big, incredible athlete in terms of skill set and whatnot. Doesn't have strength. Like he'll outbox you, he'll outskill you, but nothing consequential, right? And I know him close enough to know that, you know, he doesn't have that much knowledge of nutrition, and even if he doesn't have the discipline to you know, continue to adopt it and be consistent, right? Versus another fighter I know, Elias, he's my son, he's not tall, but he's strong. He's really strong. When he does punch, it's consequential. And I noticed the difference with him, though, is he maintains his two things, his strength routine and the way he eats. He's obsessed about eating really well.
Yeah, he's
and
very
he does.
disciplined.
And over times what I've witnessed is, man, I think that both of those play a part into it, right? Like eating and eating enough and eating to restore what you may have depleted your body of in training sessions.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, essentially, you know, your timing really could play a role in recovery when you're talking about the glycogen stores and making sure that you have optimal energy for that next training session so that when you do, you know, go to punch, you're getting the most potential out of that punch.
But I know a lot of guys that do, like they'll just do water overload throughout camp so they could get used to holding as much water as possible, because the theory is if I could get my body getting used to holding like 10, 15 pounds of water, when I go to weigh-in and I'm dehydrated and then I make weight, once I rehydrate, I'm back up 10, 12 pounds or so. What would you say about that? A lot of guys do that. Tell me what you don't like about it.
Number one, while training, I mean, especially if we're talking about Dallas, Texas, like, I could already tell, like, if we're talking about in here, it must be hot in the summertime.
Oh,
man.
Bro.
Oh, man.
So,
you gotta keep it EMT on standby.
Yo,
That's right.
yo, that's what I mean. So, if you're drinking just water, you got a higher risk of going hyponatremic. You know what I'm saying? Which means you're flushing all your sodium out of your body. You want to make sure that after you work out, that's where the real rehydration comes into play. You want to essentially drink about 16 ounces of water.
This is an important clip to make.
Dudes are cramping, that's the first sign that they have electrolyte deficiency.
Which may not be because they're not drinking water, they may be over drinking water.
Exactly.
Man, that's
I
crazy.
mean, and the thing about it, I know people don't like salt, and it has a bad rep, especially
Man, I hate salt. Yeah.
Yeah, in our community.
I put too much salt in my wedding ring.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? In our community, you know, with hypertension and, you know, all these different diseases, salt's like bad, right?
Yeah.
But athletes need salt. Like, especially when you're working out a lot and you're sweating, people only need about 2.3 grams of sodium that are, you know, general non-athletes. But believe it or not, like marathon runners or people working out, they could have probably like 5 to 10 times that amount. I'm talking 10 grams of sodium a day. Yes, with no problem.
Advantage of in boxing, right? Like the name of the game is trying to get an idea of how much water do I actually hold. So in the morning when I wake up dehydrated and I step on that scale, I know how much I can put back on. You understand what I'm saying? Like some guys will, maybe they're taking a fight at 154 and they know, well, if I can hold about 6 pounds of water, then, I don't need a cut anywhere below 153 or anything like that because I know it's just in water. Like when I say that, when I explain that, like, what is the first thing to come to your mind?
Well, I mean, with that, essentially, I think it's going to be difficult.
Because that's what we try to take advantage of. And all combat sports have to do with making weight.
Yeah, honestly, for me, I feel like the more you can be closer to your weight that you need to be at for the fight,
Like
before,
walk around, like
yeah,
walk
you know what I'm saying,
around,
like 3 weeks before if you can, man. Versus trying to push yourself to that, it just makes it more taxing on the body. You know what I'm saying? So I recommend, if possible, getting on that diet early. You know what I'm saying? Knowing what it's like to be in that calorie restriction early on. You know what I'm saying? I know it could be tough depending on where you need to be at for the fight, but the closer you can get to where you need to be on fight day, the better.
Because I've got with guys that's like, a lot sometimes would be like, I'm 155, I'm 156, I'm good. I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be 153.4, 153.5. He just knows that about his body. And okay, 156 is pretty close, so probably not a bad thing, right? Because true water weight fluctuation, I guess it varies from people, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I've had some guys, I'm not gonna say no names, we get to the nationals, and he's like 8 pounds above your weight, but is managed to run the treadmill so much the night of, wakes up making weight in the morning.
That's not good, man.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
Man, that's like remind me. Remember that movie? I think it was called The Fox Catcher or something like that. And
Wrestlers.
yeah, the wrestlers, dog. And it was based on a true story. And the brother, he got mad because he lost his wrestling match, and he went and he ate like a whole bunch of food in his room, like cakes and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And his brother was his trainer, and he made him get on the what's that joint called?
elliptical.
Not the elliptical, the
bike.
the bike thing. I forgot what it's called.
Yeah.
And the dude made weight, yo. Like, I mean, that's just not healthy.
Guys do that a lot in what we do, right?
Yeah. Why you want to stress
And
yourself?
I don't
out
agree
like
with it.
that?
I ain't saying I
You know
agree
what I
with it. I'm saying that's like,
Some
man.
people don't. They work the best when the pressure's on. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'm kind of one of those guys. Like I'm not. I have a bad thing of procrastinating. So, man, my anxiety is like a superpower, man. I run through buildings with anxiety. You know what I mean? So some fighters, they kind of need that last push to make it happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, facts.
But if that last push is at the last minute, from a physical standpoint, you're not
That doesn't mean
optimized
it's
for
good.
performance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't
exactly.
mean it's good for the performance.
You're
Yeah,
just
it's-
manipulating
Yeah,
yourself.
I mean, like,
that part.
be dialed in, be
Yeah.
precise, you know what I'm saying? And focus on everything in training. Focus on your diet in training. Get that locked in. You'll feel a lot more confident, stronger, you know what I'm saying?
Because I don't care what anyone says, man. That's the hardest part of training. It don't matter how many rounds you do in the ring. For me, it's late at night, man. Late at night, I always want something sweet right before bedtime. Man. Get some cookies calling my name. You know what I mean? They just calling my name.
You sure it's not the Keebler elf infestation?
It's all of them,
That you
man.
got? Because I thought you had a Keebler elf infestation at one point.
Man, it's all of them. They talk to each other, man. And
They're in this attic and shit, cooking.
Yeah, bro, I feel you. I mean, I have the same type
It's
of
just a
cravings,
pot.
man.
that's it.
And the whole thing is, knowing what to pick, bro, and that's where the dietitian comes in. So you can have something sweet, but I can tell you what's the right thing to pick that's not going to throw you way off.
Man,
Yeah.
before we touch on that, I want to go back to something. So you had mentioned the best thing to eat before, like a workout for a fighter that's losing weight and gaining and wanting to maintain his weight. What is a post-workout meal for him? After dropping weight or gaining weight or
Sure.
maintaining weight.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to start off with, a 4-to-1 ratio, essentially of 4 grams of carbohydrate per 1 gram of protein.
Okay.
Especially if we worked out for 2 hours or more.
I'm working out the math in my head. Do we have that as special effect where you can have all these math and these different algorithms in front of me while he's talking about it?
So, I mean, it's science, bro. That's where we come in to make those calculations for the
Yeah.
athlete. But if we're doing primarily endurance and we're working out, sweating a lot, 2 hours, I'm going 4-to-1. That could be, shakes are always an easy way to kind of
Right.
put those numbers together. So I would probably do something similar to the pre-workout, you know what I'm saying? But double up on
Okay.
it because you've lost so much.
That you need to regain and replenish. I see.
Yeah, exactly. But if it's just say more of like a strength training day,
Yeah.
you can cut it to what we call the 2-to-1 ratio. So it's only got to be 2 grams of carbohydrate to 1 gram of protein. So 25 grams of protein, 50 grams of carbohydrate. Because a lot of times with young athletes, especially, they feel the same. It's like whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when we show them that, look, by you following the diet this way, this is how it's affecting you. And also when we're talking about margins of error.
Absolutely.
That's what the athlete has to be mindful of. They may not necessarily see it or feel it up front, but when it comes to, you know what, when I fought that last time, when I got to round 8, I was good, you know what I'm saying? But the next time, I got tired at round 7. So I think that's where the effect comes in. It's more of that minute impact on your optimal performance. You know what I'm saying?
That's a clip right there. Because we're, at the end of the day, we're talking about greatest competitive advantage. That's the name of the game in anything that is competitive. You know, especially like something fighting. You're training to be the biggest, baddest warrior, and you want to have the greatest advantage. That's an area that's not really given enough attention to have a conversation about. Right.
So at what point watching UFC, you see Sean O'Malley, you see Conor McGregor, they're fighting at 155, 145, but you walk around damn near 200 pounds.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
So, and I think boxing, I think I'm
similar, very similar.
Like Devin Haney maybe, but at what point is it bullying the method? At what point do you just go up a weight class and not force yourself to look like that, feel like that for that? Because you make that weight for 30 seconds. And then to your point, you're putting everything right back in. So at what point do you just go up a weight class? Or
man, that's tough, bro. I think that's more, business decision, personal, how you're feeling. As you age as well, your metabolism you can change. But I will tell you, bro, I work with a UFC fighter or a guy that's getting into the UFC, MMA. He's a beast. And guess what? He walks around at his fighting weight, bro.
That's
for real?
Yes. He's no beast. He's a beast. Israel Galvin. He's on the come up.
Can you get him on this?
Yeah.
Get him on this.
So he lives out in Denton area, but he does train out in Las Vegas at Syndicate.
Yeah.
So he has a fight coming up.
So he bites at his walk around weight?
Yes.
That's what I'm.
Because I helped him with that, bro. He focuses on his diet, dog. He don't play.
We're gonna have to contract your services for our guys, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. How much benefit does he have by doing so?
Ridiculous, bro.
Why?
Yeah. Because it's not like he's
stress
doing
factor.
exactly what he should be doing every single day, bro. He's not getting ready. He is ready.
Should these young guys, like the teens, be taking supplements?
Well, they can go with more natural supplements like the protein supplementation and or say like a ready-to-drink protein shake or a meal replacement. Yeah, or protein bar.
Because I had a parent call me, I want to say like 2 months ago. Hey, Josh, my son is trying to take such and such. I'm trying to talk him out of creatine.
Creatine.
That's what it was. You know what I told him? I said, for one, I'm not a registered dietitian. I don't want to advise you on that. I like my gym. I like what I'm doing here. I don't want to get sued.
Well, it's so crazy, man. It's crazy because creatine always get the baddest rap, bro. But it's really not that bad for you, man.
For real?
It's very good for you, actually. And I actually really encourage athletes to take creatine.
Even these young guys, high school guys, or
possibly.
Yeah.
Bro, creatine is the most researched, safest supplement in the world.
Really?
There's like over 1,000 studies on creatine.
Man.
The thing about it is the name. That's why people don't like it because it sounds
like
bad.
something that some mad scientist cooked up one day
In a trailer park or something.
That's not creatine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And it was also what's my man's name? Is it Mark McGuire? The guy?
Yeah, I made the baseball bat used to look like a toothpick in his hand.
He was so to Mark McGuire.
Exactly. He made creatine a bad rap because people was like, oh, he's taking that creatine, he's juicing like, you know what I'm saying? But really, if you look at the research, especially for combat sports, I highly recommend utilizing it because it actually can help with protecting the brain.
Really?
Yes. So there's some benefits for that. And secondarily, when you're talking about power output, creatine helps to support the highest energy output that we have.
Okay. So is that something you should take like 5 days a week, 6 days a week, training days, non-training days? Really?
Every day.
How much intake? Like how many times a day?
I would
about to get
recommend.
After you told me that.
Generally, 5 grams of creatine a day is recommended, but if you have an athlete that may have had a head injury, like after a bout, I would maybe go up to like 25 a day.
So there are benefits from creatine as it relates to brain injuries.
Yes. Creatine and fish oil.
Huh.
Really? Elaborate on that, because
Guys get hit in the head all the time. That's what I'm interested in hearing.
Yeah. See, well, with the fish
in our
oil,
sport, yeah.
the research actually comes out of TCU. And funny little quick story, I actually did a little study with them where I was a participant. And they gave me like all this fish oil because they had just done these studies with the football players.
Yeah.
But you can take fish oil ahead and take it every day essentially, and it has an ability to kind of protect the neurons and things of that nature.
I just take those burps after the fish oil.
So wait.
Burps.
So back up here. This is where I always get thrown off in conversations about supplements. I hear all of these benefits, then before you know it, you have a litany of different stuff that when I take a little bit of this, take a little bit of this, so.
Bro, you know what's interesting? I don't know if you ever seen that show on Netflix, Don't Die.
Yeah.
Have you heard about it?
No.
Bro, this guy, he was like a kind of overweight corporate dude or whatever, and he started researching like thoroughly. He had like a lot of money, so he did all this red light therapy and all this stuff. And he takes supplements, and he takes a whole bunch of them, dog, and he looks phenomenal.
For real?
Yeah.
So at a basic level for my guys then, the fish oil and the creatine, they could take both like at one time?
Yeah.
So what, like a capsule of fish oil and then like a scoop of creatine or?
Yep, exactly.
What do you say for someone with a seafood allergy?
No, it shouldn't affect them because
No, like
allergies usually are protein related. So like the fish protein usually causes like a reaction, but the fish oil itself shouldn't necessarily cause
that's
a
interesting.
reaction.
Gotcha.
The fish oil then, you take it before a training session?
Or just
It's like-
morning?
it's similar to like to the creatine. You could just take it whenever.
But this is stuff that like the fighters need to hear. Like you need to do a workshop,
Absolutely.
on nutrition, just clinics on nutrition, just in the boxing community, man. We do clinics on best principles of coaching and whatnot. We do clinics on officiating and judging fight. We need to do clinics like on just nutrition, period, man.
100%,
for sure.
That'd be dope. I'm gonna set that up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No. Yeah, I graduated at 225 pounds. I was a fat kid. So you were touching on something about a sweet treat replacement. So what is something that, like, when you get a sweet craving at night, that you can kind of, still have that sweet craving but not feel so guilty about it the next morning?
Yeah, definitely. So you could probably do like a Greek yogurt with fruit, as an option. For those that may not like dairy, you could probably, make up a recipe. One that I usually recommend. You could put like, what's that? Not Greek yogurt, but cottage cheese, and you mix it with like almond flour, whey protein. Put some chocolate chips in it, maybe some coconut flakes. And those are types of recipes I could recommend. Protein bars could always be a good option. Dark chocolate, maybe a square is fine as well. It actually helps to reduce cravings for other sweets.
Yeah.
So you could try that.
Yeah, Elias gets dark chocolate chunks
Really?
and puts it into his yogurt.
Okay.
Mix it in there, and that's like his midnight snack.
Really?
Yeah,
I might
dark
try
chocolate
that.
chunks with like yogurt.
Blueberries or something.
Yeah.
I check that out.
Man, so tell us about these supplements, Rev supplements. Tell us about the company. Why should people get it? So we could share it with our audience.
Yeah, definitely. So Rev Subs essentially was started by some
Big
guys.
Wolf Energy. I think I'm interested in this
Yeah,
one.
Big Wolf Energy.
Just because of the actual title there.
Yeah, facts, man. Yeah, so essentially Rev Subs was started up by some guys that I went to college with at UConn, and they asked me if I wanted to be like a model or affiliate.
Yeah.
So I've been with them, ever since. Actually, this is a collaborative with an influencer, Cameron Philly, essentially. So Big Wolf Energy. Was that?
I was like,
He's thinking about Cam, Killer Cam.
Oh, yeah.
I
I feel you. So yeah, this one here essentially is a pre-workout. It's got citrulline, beta-alanine. It's got electrolytes in it, which is pretty awesome. This is kind of a new thing with pre-workouts. And it also has a few other ingredients, alpha GPC for focus, So when you talk about, locking in, this could be a good one to consider. I'm gonna kind of go through the rest of them.
No cat, okay.
Yeah, this is actually a creatine product.
Okay.
So no cap creatine, straight up creatine monohydrate. It's the best absorbable form of creatine known to man.
Yeah.
And 5 grams of creatine per serving,
Yeah.
unflavored, straightforward.
And then you got Unbreakable, BCAs.
Yes, sir.
I think a lot of us don't understand BCAs. You hear a lot of talk about it. In short, what is BCAs?
BCAAs is branched chain amino acids.
Okay.
Isoleucine, leucine, and valine. There's 20 amino acids that are known to man, and the branched chain amino acids are primarily used by the skeletal muscle tissue. So when you talk about boxers drinking a whole bunch of water, I recommend utilizing something like Unbreakable.
Put it in their water like
Yeah.
theirs. So if he's walking around with a gallon, just drop some in that gallon.
Exactly. It's sugar free.
How many scoops per gallon?
Yeah.
Well, I would probably do 4 scoops in a gallon.
Okay.
Essentially, what's also good about the BCAAs, it does something where it can reduce what's called central fatigue. So say if like an athlete's fasting and they didn't eat much, when you first start working out, what happens is your albumin in your bloodstream, it releases tryptophan, right? And tryptophan you might have heard about like during Thanksgiving. It's the sleepy amino acid.
Yeah, and this was in Turkey.
Yeah,
Right.
and they start feeling like they're tired, but they're not really tired. It's just that the albumin it releases the tryptophan because it's picking up more fat. Because fat is not soluble in water, so the albumin picks up that fatty acid. Now you got free tryptophan. But what happens is the BCAAs actually compete at the blood-brain barrier, so that not as much tryptophan gets across and turns to serotonin.
Muscle up.
Muscle up, whey protein.
Yep.
Essentially, this one here. They basically,
So my guys shouldn't take this though, right? Because you put on weight.
well, not necessarily. Weight gain comes from excessive calorie intake.
Uh-huh.
So you can take, whey protein with your diet as long as it's fitting based on your needs.
Only 3 artists to make a workout playlist.
Oh, 3 artists to make a workout playlist? Shoot. Nas,
Okay.
Kanye, Biggie.
Nice.
All right. Favorite cheat meal?
Favorite cheat meal? Man. I'll probably go with pizza.
Okay, can't go wrong with that. Free weights or cable machines?
Free weights.
Steak or chicken?
Steak.
100%. Favorite 90s sitcom?
I'm gonna have to go Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
There we
Yes,
go.
man, I was watching that earlier today. Favorite sneaker?
Favorite sneaker? Air Max.
Okay,
90s.
Air Max, yes. UFC or boxing?
I'm gonna go boxing.
There we
Okay,
go.
okay.
For sure.
There we go.
If you had to travel back in time, what decade and why?
I'm gonna go back to, man, probably go back to, that's tough, bro. 90s was live, bro. 90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dream vacay.
Dream vacation? Dang. Man, I'll probably say heading out to Italy with the wife or something.
Okay,
That's
something
what-
romantic. All right.
Yo,
That
it
wraps
just
it
about
up.
does it, huh?
Yes, sir.
Well, man, we appreciate you coming on. I think there was a lot of knowledge that you had to offer, that you have to offer, especially with the audience that we interact with on a daily basis. And so we're definitely going to continue, working with you, and we're going to bring you back again because there's just so much value in the area of nutrition to offer all of these guys that we interact with on a daily basis. So we appreciate you so much.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much.
Yes, sir.
Good conversation.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.